And going.
So to bury and not do a subcuticular pattern, you start near the end and you want to go from deep to superficial. Now when you're coming out superficial, you're still within the wound here, so you're still within the knot. You always want to go in where you came out, so you're going to go back in superficial and come out deep. You want to be nice and deep and very superficial for all this stuff. So you pull that tight. Now this is the way you should tie it, so both of your ends are on the same side of that loop. If one end is on this side of the loop, like this, the whole knot will be superficial, and you don't want that. So you just want to be sure both ends are on the same side of the knot. I'll pull this tag so it's not quite so long, and then pull. You want to pull parallel to the ground, and you want to pull parallel to the knot, to the wound, so it sinks in like that. If you pull perpendicular to the wound like this, the knot won't sink in as well. So pull parallel. You don't want to do a surgeon's knot because it'll make it big and bulky, and you probably don't want to do more than about 4 throws because you don't want a big bulky knot in there. So once you're done with that, you can cut your tag nice and short. And now you're ready to do your subcuticular closure. Because your knot's right there and your incision starts right here, you sort of have to backtrack just a little bit and go over the top of your knot. And now we've switched from a vertical plane like this to a horizontal plane like this. So I'm staying, everything now is going to be very superficial. This suture is incredibly large, and the needle is very large for what you'd be doing there. You'd have a much smaller needle and smaller suture, but you want to stay in the very superficial part on a horizontal plane. You want to come directly across and back a little bit on each time. You don't want to advance too far on each bite. So here it's coming out here. I'm going to go directly across and over just a bit, and stay in that horizontal plane, entering and exiting very horizontal or very superficial. So here, my suture's coming out here, coming directly over and back just a little bit. Go in very superficial and come out very superficial. Here, directly across and back just a little bit, entering very superficial, coming out very superficial. So now you can see we have, this is in the horizontal plane, just kind of going back and forth like this. Now we're going to get ready to bury our knot. We could go a little further, but I'm getting nervous being on camera. So when you bury the knot, you're going to come across again, and you always go in where you came out. So you go on the same level that you came out. So this is coming out superficial here. I'm going to go in superficial on this side, but now I'm going to switch to a vertical plane like this. And so I'm going to go in superficial, and I'm going to come out very deep, like this. So now I've switched to a vertical plane, and I'm coming out very deep down in there. So because I came out deep, now I have to go back in deep, and then I'm going to come out very superficial. Like that. So this is now your deep loop. So this is going to be one thing you're going to tie to. You can't tie to this loop here because that's a superficial loop, and that'll pull the whole knot up. So I'm just going to take my scissors and kind of hold that loop over to the side there just to get it out of the way. So I need to get one more suture coming from deep so I can tie that to my deep loop. So I'm going to go in very superficially and come out very deep. Like that. So now notice that you have one superficial loop here that you can just pull down. You need to be sure both your deep loop and your deep strand are on one side of the superficial loop. In other words, you don't want to end up with your superficial strand on this side of that deep loop, because then you'll be tying over the superficial loop, and it will keep everything. So you want these on the same side. So now you're ready to tie your knot. Again, you don't want a big bulky knot. You can kind of cinch everything up by pulling on one end of this loop. You just do an instrument tie, pull parallel to that knot there, and that knot should sink down like that. Again, you don't want to do a surgeon's throw because you don't want a big bulky knot. And you don't want any more than 4 knots. My needle just came off, so I'm done here. So there you go. And then you cut your tags nice and short.